The relationship between the 9 tribes that had once served Emperor Kwa was a rather rocky one. Even though they worked together, they were also rivals. The relationship between the 9 tribes that had once served Emperor Kwa was a rather rocky one. Even though they worked together, they were also rivals. They had all served Emperor Kwa before. When the emperor perished, the 9 tribes remained separate entities, competing against each other for many years. They all wanted to become the true successors of Emperor Kwa and inherit the will of the emperor. Doing so would allow them to unify all 9 tribes. If one among the 9 reached the Renhuang Plain, everything would naturally come to a close. The so-called Renhuang ruins were the ancestral lands of the 9 tribes. They had been trying to inherit whatever was left behind by Emperor Kwa for many years. They were the only ones who truly knew where the flames of the way came from. Furthermore, the people of the 9 tribes knew that every single person who came to possess the flames was somehow destined for the endeavor. However, what happened after they fought was not planned. However, there was no doubt that people who inherited the flames were definitely from top-notch forces and adept at flame powers. Only such people had the ability and right to do so. Each of the 9 tribes was allowed to cooperate with someone who came with the flames. As such, the 9 tribes only had a single chance to pick their candidates. As such, they were always very careful about it. It was especially true that many forces who gained the flames showed up. However, there were still others who had yet to show up, so they did not know how capable those who had the flames were. Under such circumstances, the weaker ones among the 9 might have proceeded with the selection process, finding and approaching their candidates. The process was two-sided after all. If they didn't take the initiative, they might be able to do so later. However, the stronger few would not have extended their invitations without serious consideration. Yi Futian, Lord of Qinya City, had unknown power. In truth, in addition to powers, the people of the 9 tribes still needed to consider other factors. While Yi Futian had internalized the flames, he was not a member of any clans of fire powers. They had no idea how capable he was at manipulating flames. It was imperative to find that out, as it concerned their ancestral land. As such, to the people of the 9 tribes, Yi Futian was quite literally a wild card. Extending an invitation to him would be little more than a gamble at best. On the other hand, Shichan and Chang Huai, who were near Yi Futian, despite having lost to Xiaqing Yuan before, were nonetheless members of renowned fire clans. The abilities that they were most versed in, or rather, their core powers, were flames. As such, several tribes extended their invitations right away. However, the stronger few did not extend their invitations. They needed to wait. City Lord Yi, I, a member of the Wu clan, would like to invite you to join us in an expedition into the territory of Emperor Kwa. Will you accept the proposal? A powerful voice asked him. Yi Futian turned his eyes toward the person who'd asked. It was a gray-robed elder. He then nodded and smiled at Yi Futian, appearing rather friendly. Yi Futian recalled Shen Tianzhan's introduction to the 9 tribes. In the era after Emperor Kwa's passing, the 9 tribes had competed for many years. By remaining separated, the differences in their strengths had become apparent. For instance, the Zhu clan was one of the strongest among the 9 clans, ranking at firmly the very top. As for the Wu clan, they were actually leaning on the Zhu clan. They had even married their women into the Zhu clan, showing their intention to become an affiliated force. As for the specifics, Shen Tianzhan knew little more than that. It was, however, clear that the Wu clan was not that great of a choice. I'll think about it, Yi Futian replied with a smile. The relationship between the 9 tribes and the people who had acquired the flames was that of a partnership. Both sides waited for the right price before bidding. Yi Futian was in no hurry to make his decision. He deemed it entirely fine to wait until the very last moment. Very well, the gray-robed elder said, nodding. You can stay in Emperor Kwa's city, for the time being, Lord Yi. There are still others who have yet to arrive. You are free to make your choice when everyone else is here. The people of the Zhu clan were right beside the people of the Wu clan. The one who spoke was huge and imposing, wearing a fire-type robe sporting a crimson beard. He looked very overbearing and stern. Sure. Yi Futian smiled and nodded before leaving the place. Like Yi Futian, Shichuan and Chang Huai did not make their choices yet. They chose to wait for the right price before bidding. Those who had extended invitations to them were comparatively weak tribes. In this case, there was simply no need for them to be in a hurry to make their choices. "You train in fire powers too?" someone behind Yi Futian asked. He turned around and saw Shichuan. Her voice sounded rather cold. When the flames that were stolen by the star-plucking saint were handed over to Yi Futian, it had cost her clan considerably to get their hands on another wisp of the flames. "Indeed." Yi Futian nodded. "We'll see each other in the ruins then," Shichuan quipped. Chang Huai followed right behind her. Chang Huai smirked and took a look at Yi Futian when he walked past before continuing to move forward. Yi Futian did not pay the two of them any heed. He returned immediately to see everyone from Qianye City. He told them, "Let's head out." The group left the place right away. They wanted to find an inn in Emperqua's city to settle down in for the moment. Mighty beings continued to pour into Emperqua's city after that. There were even some people there who did not have flames with them and were simply there for fun. Of course, there were others who had acquired the flames arriving all the time. Their identities were gradually discovered by others. Unexpectedly, every single one of the people who showed up later was a legendary figure trained in fire powers in the Crimson Dragon realm. Those people caused quite a bit of commotion as they arrived at Emperqua's city. People were talking about them all over the city in inns and restaurants. "Someone from Emperor Dong's palace of the eastern region is here." Everyone sitting at a table felt rather shocked. Emperor Dong's palace of the eastern region was a true Renhuang force. It was a place located in the eastern region of the Crimson Dragon realm. All those within the region submitted to them. They reigned supreme in the eastern region of the Crimson Dragon realm. Emperor Dong's palace of the eastern region and Emperor Qua's hall in the western region were both of equal legendary status, reigning supreme in their respective regions. Emperor Dong's palace of the eastern region has never interfered with Emperor Qua's ruins in the past. Yet they now show up with a wisp of the flames. I wonder what they're up to. They were wondering which of the 9 tribes would be willing to work with a force like that from Emperor Dong's palace. The southern regions are like they've always been. The ones who showed up are the descendants of Saint Chiming. Furthermore, they will probably work with the Nanli tribe if everything goes well, someone added. Everyone in Emperor Qua's city knew that every single expedition into Emperor Qua's ruins would mean one wisp of flames appearing in the other 3 regions. One member of the forces of the 3 respective regions would have to come. It was as if things had been set up to work this way. People serving Saint Chiming were always from the south. It is the same in the northern regions. Saint Juyo will send someone else said. The descendants of both Saint Chiming and Saint Juyo showed up very frequently. Other than those 3 forces, any others who had acquired the flames were probably those from the central region of the Crimson Dragon realm. The area centered around Crimson Dragon City was the strongest. As such, quite a few flames should have emerged there. However, despite that area being the most powerful one, only the top forces of the other 3 regions would have sent their representatives to the event. This was due to the central area having the Crimson Dragon Emperor reigning supreme. It was indeed a terrifying lineup. Many tribes of Emperor Qua's city paid visits and extended invitations when the 3 forces were there. With 8 forces having gathered at present, I wonder which force has gotten their hands on the flames and if they'll show up. During the previous events, there had been situations where people who had obtained the flames had not shown up to the event. They hadn't been interested in entering the ruins and had simply gone on to train with the flames. "The last force is here," someone announced, attracting the attention of everyone in the restaurant. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. "Who is it?" "Unclear, but the mightiest members of the Zhu clan have departed to pay them a visit," the speaker told them. Many were startled by the news. The Zhu clan was visiting someone personally? So, the Zhu clan had already decided who they wanted to work with? They had been waiting all this time? One figure after another left the restaurant in a flash, heading outside with intense curiosity. They were intrigued by whoever had made the topmost clans of the 9 wait. Few remained in the restaurant after that. Yi Futian and the rest sat quietly in a corner feeling rather curious. He wondered who could have made the Zhu clan pay them a personal visit. Who could have made the Zhu clan wait? A group of mighty beings was traveling from the central region of Emperor Qua's city at that moment. The one taking the lead was a woman. She looked legendary, dashing, and very unapproachable. The mighty beings of the Zhu clan appeared. The one in the lead was the tall man who had made Yi Futian wait for days. He said with a smile, "Welcome, princess." "Yeah." The woman in charge nodded, startling many. Anyone bearing the title of princess in the Crimson Dragon realm was definitely a daughter of a Renhuang. Common folk did not dare to use such titles. Daughter of Emperor Wu. Someone was perceptive enough to recall who she was. She was the princess of Emperor Wu's realm. She was training in the regional palace and was considered a genius. So it was she who had come this time. Emperor Wu was proficient in fire powers and was ranked at the forefront of the Crimson Dragon region in terms of powers. His powers of fire manipulation were extremely formidable. If they had sent the princess there, it was, without a doubt, the best bet available to the Zhu clan. It was no surprise then that the Zhu clan had kept waiting. It seemed that everything had been arranged beforehand. "Who else is here?" the genius woman asked. She'd come from the regional palace for the expedition, intending to see Emperor Qua's ruins for herself. If the place had not been Renhuang ruins, she would not have bothered to make the trip. Those from Emperor Dong's palace, St. Chiming, and St. Joyo. Others are from the central region just like you, princess. One of the powerful members of the Zhu clan added, "Our greatest opponent this time will probably be someone from Emperor Dong's palace." Of course, the others pose quite a threat as well. But then again, the Wu clan is ours now. I could have them get someone to support you, princess. Who do you think would be up to the task? Yi Futian of Qianye City, the woman answered, seeming to recall something. The Zhu clan member was dumbfounded for a bit when he heard that name. However, he quickly nodded in agreement. Yu Xing had entered the regional palace to train after the Battle of the Crimson River. The princess was definitely acquainted with him, given that she was also training in the regional palace. Yi Futian's powers were anything but weak. His most proficient power might not be fire, but he would serve as a very suitable aid to the princess of Emperor Wu. However, the powerful member of the Zhu clan was not going to state it that way when the invitation was extended. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The 9 forces were all there and they behaved appropriately, extending invitations to the mighty ones. The 9 forces were all there and they behaved appropriately, extending invitations to the mighty ones. The Nanli tribe chose to work with St. Chiming's people right away, while the Zhu clan had also gotten their candidate to show up. In truth, it was the other 7 tribes seeking to pick their candidates. The Zhong clan extended their invitation to the candidate from Emperor Dong's palace and both parties reached an agreement. The Zhong clan was one of the top among the 9 and very powerful. It was a collaboration between titans given that Emperor Dong's palace was just as powerful. Many in Emperor Qua's city talked and looked forward to their collaboration. They saw that this collaboration had the capability to match the collaboration between the Zhu clan and the princess of Emperor Wu. Afterwards, there would be word that the Raven tribe would work with St. Joyo. Yi Futian was at the inn the whole time. He felt rather exasperated as the news came in bit by bit. According to Shen Tianzhan, the stronger of the 9 tribes seemed to have had their candidates in mind, and there was no one seeking to extend an invitation to him. It was apparent that he was not the preferred choice of any of the 9 tribes. He heard from Shen Tianzhan that the 9 tribes placed greater importance on candidates who were mainly trained in fire powers. Not only was Yi Futian's knowledge of his powers limited, but the other candidates were skilled in fire powers of the Crimson Dragon realm. That likely explained why he was being ignored. There were even descendants of the Renhuang who were proficient in fire powers. The princess of Emperor Wu or the prince from Emperor Dong's palace were 2 such examples. The other candidates were also members of skilled forces with fire-based power. The candidate from the Pang clan of Crimson Cloud City was from the Crimson Cloud realm, and a descendant of a Renhuang as well. There were also the Shi clan and the Chang clan from Jianmu City, and they too belonged to fire-based clans, such as Flaming Prison City, which was proficient in hellfire. While they were considered a weaker clan among the others, they were nonetheless very skilled in fire power. He was the only one whom no one had seen use fire powers. That was probably why none of the stronger tribes dared to bet on him. One would have placed their bets on more likely candidates, and he apparently was not one of their top choices. After some time, Futian finally had invitations extended to him. The one who came first was an elder of the Bailey tribe, who emanated a rather mystical aura. In terms of power ranking, the Bailey tribe was in the middle of the 9. The elder wore a robe and held a scepter in his hand. "We of the Bailey tribe would like to extend our invitation to you, City Lord Yi, to enter the ruins with us. Would you take up the offer?" The elder from Bailey tribe did not bother to beat around the bush. "Why did you choose me, senior?" Futian did not answer right away, choosing to ask with a smile instead. "Among those who have obtained the flames of the way of Emperor Kwa, your powers are the least known. As such, all 9 tribes have their reservations about you, which I'm sure you can understand," the elder explained. "Now, with the likes of the Princess of Emperor Wu and the Prince of the Emperor Dong's palace having decided which tribe to collaborate with, we of the Bailey tribe would like to try it out with you, City Lord Yi. Were you to accept our offer, we would do our best to aid you within the ruins." It now made sense to Futian. The best candidates had already been claimed by the top tribes, and the Bailey clan was in a rather awkward position. That was why they decided to bet on him. The Bailey tribe simply wanted to try him out, instead of truly believing in what he was capable of. However, Futian did not mind any of that. He was not stupidly prideful enough to think that the 9 tribes should have believed in his powers without question. Trust was built on the foundations of power after all. He had never even displayed what he was actually capable of, so there was no way he could have asked others to trust him. Just when Futian was about to accept, another voice was heard. "City Lord Yi, we of the Wu clan would like to extend our invitation to have you collaborate with us." The gray-robed elder who had extended his invitation to Futian in front of the statue of Emperor Kwa appeared. Futian looked at him and then at the elder of Bailey tribe, feeling rather hesitant for a moment. "City Lord Yi, we would be working with the Zhu clan on this expedition. We would have a better chance if we looked out for each other. The Zhu clan would actually like you to aid the Princess of Emperor Wu. But of course, if your powers prove adequate, then there wouldn't need to be any talk of aiding the princess. You could still reap whatever you wish within the ruins, so long as you make a show of working with them." The gray-robed elder of the Wu clan then added telepathically, "If you were to find something big, we of the Wu clan would do our best to help. Of course, even if you were to end up getting next to nothing, we wouldn't mind. There is no need to put strict requirements on what must be done, after all." Futian's expression changed after hearing the elder's telepathic words. The Wu clan seemed to be out to aid the Zhu clan. However, it seemed that the Wu clan was not as simple as they appeared. One of their own came to extend an invitation and laid the truth bare to him, appearing sincere and honest. If the 2 tribes were to ally with each other and he was going to go along for the ride, it would definitely be more advantageous for him. Shen Tianzhan had reminded him that it was best to collaborate with the top few tribes. The elder of Bailey tribe spoke, after seeing Futian's hesitation. "It is up to you, City Lord Yi. It'd be fine, regardless of your choice." The Bailey tribe invited Futian with the intention of trying him out. If he declined, they would simply look for someone else. After all, nothing was set in stone before entering the ruins. "All right then." Futian nodded. "As the Wu clan had extended an invitation earlier, I must give them priority." "It is fine." The mighty one from the Bailey tribe nodded decisively. "Well then, we shall meet again in the ruins." He turned around and left. Once the mighty one from the Bailey tribe had gone, Futian looked at the gray-robed elder. "What prompted you to extend an invitation to me again, senior?" While several mighty ones had already been claimed, it was not as if the Wu clan had no options. Futian was still not really held in high regard, so he never expected them to come to him again, let alone tell him secrets behind the deal. "The Princess of Emperor Wu mentioned you, City Lord Yi." The gray-robed elder then smiled and added, "But I do hope you would keep what I told you privileged." "I understand." Futian nodded. He was not so lacking in character that he would have sold out the one who came to him. However, he wondered why the princess bothered bringing him up. He asked Shen Tianzhan before and found that the princess' surname was different. The realm that her father ruled had only been known as Emperor Wu's realm because of her father's name. The princess' name was actually Yin Tianjiao, meaning genius. It was a testament of her father's expectations for her. Yin Tianjiao had indeed lived up to her given name. She had superb talents and came to Crimson Dragon Realm because of her proficiency with fire powers. She had been trained in the regional palace and was quite renowned in Crimson Dragon City. Recalling that fact, Yi Futian wondered if she had brought him up because of Yu Sheng. Yu Sheng had trained at the regional palace and would have definitely interacted with the cultivators who were also there. He wondered if Yu Sheng had talked with Yin Tianjiao before. Well then, I shall take my leave. I will send someone to pick you up before we depart, City Lord Yi, the gray-robed elder said. Yi Futian nodded and the elder left. A group of people came to him next. Xia Qingyuan, Shen Tianzhan and some others were there. The 9 tribes had chosen their respective candidates for the collaboration and many looked forward to it. When everything was settled, it was time to depart. The gray-robed elder came to invite Yi Futian and the others to depart together. The group left the inn and headed towards their destination. The 9 tribes moved out at the same time, heading west from Emperor Kua's city. The 9 tribes did not reside within the city itself. The city had once been a territory of Emperor Kua. It was only after Emperor Kua's passing that the 9 tribes began to move into Emperor Kua's cities. However, their headquarters remained in the areas surrounding the city, and they seemed to have ruled all of the western regions. It was a desolate place which seemed endless, consisting of deserts and castles. The scorching sun shone on the land and a heat wave threatened to fry the entire area. The further they went, the hotter it got, as if the entire place was covered in flames. The ground was like fire scorching their feet. Amidst the heat-struck desolation, there was an area with statues. The largest of them all depicted Emperor Kua, with the others surrounding it. They were the mighty ones who had served Emperor Kua, the ancestors of the 9 tribes. The gallery was in ruins, but in the center was a portal. The people of Crimson Dragon Realm all somehow knew that this was not only Emperor Kua's ruins, but also the ancestral land of the 9 tribes. That was the place where they originated from. From here, they had taken all of the western regions in the Crimson Dragon Realm, reigning supreme over the entirety. Despite the passage of time, the ancestral land remained standing. Some of those now present were members of top clans proficient in fire powers, but had not acquired the flames of the way themselves. However, there were also others who had entered the ancestral land before. They landed and walked in a single direction. Mighty ones of the Zhu clan and Yin Tianjiao walked together, attracting the attention of many. Due to Yin Tianjiao's renown in Crimson Dragon City and training at the regional palace, she attracted the most attention. It could have been said that she was very radiant. Other than Yin Tianjiao, the one that attracted the most attention was the prince of Emperor Dong's palace. That was a Renhuang force native to the Crimson Dragon Realm. They were the absolute authority in the eastern region of the realm, so much so that not even the Crimson Dragon Emperor would interfere with their rule. Emperor Dong's palace was of equal renown to Emperor Kua's hall. As the prince of Emperor Dong's palace prepared to enter Emperor Kua's ruins, many became excited and wondered what would happen next. Out of all the clans, it was the Zhong tribe that was working with the prince of Emperor Dong's palace. They were very powerful and definitely among the top 3 forces. The collaboration of 2 such parties was naturally worthy of note. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Those present were the strongest to be among the 9 tribes. The leaders of all 9 tribes were there personally, as were the holiness of Nirvana. Those present were the strongest to be among the 9 tribes. The leaders of all 9 tribes were there personally, as were the holiness of Nirvana. The fact that the 9 tribes had still been able to rule the region after Emperor Kua's passing served as an undeniable testament of their powers. Several pairs of eyes turned to Yi Futian when he came. Notable among them were the mighty ones from the Zhu clan and Yin Tianjiao, princess of Emperor Wu. Also Shi Chan of the Shi clan and Chang Huai, who worked with the Vermilion Bird clan and the Zhu tribe. The Vermilion Bird clan consisted of demonic beasts, with the leader having once served as Emperor Qua's steed. The student of Saint Chiming worked with the Nanli tribe, while the student of Saint Joyo worked with the Raven tribe, the mighty ones of which descended from the bloodline of the three-legged golden raven. The Bailey tribe had chosen to work with a prestigious young saint from Flaming Prison City after Yi Futian refused their offer. And finally, the ones from Crimson Cloud City worked with the Shang tribe. All 9 cultivators who internalized the flames of the way were of proving holiness level. Though there were others of higher level flame power, only those who had attained proving holiness were permitted. That was because only people of proving holiness level could enter the ruins of Emperor Qua. Those rules were likely due to concerns of the 9 tribes over their ability to keep the more powerful in check. There may have been other reasons, but only the 9 tribes knew for certain. Since we're all here, let's move out, the Zhu clan elder with a fiery red beard said. The leader of the Zhu clan stood right beside him and his aura was unreadable, looking like a god of fire simply by standing around. Everyone nodded and began walking. The leaders of the 9 tribes walked to the spectral gate and all performed hand seals. 9 dazzling wisps of flames emerged from their hands and shot at the gate. 9 beams of light rained down and the gate seemed to have detected some kind of summons. A terrifying fiery aura and air flowed and the entire gate twisted, with a huge hole appearing shortly after. Let's head inside, a voice said. Everyone moved for the gate, their bodies immediately disappearing after stepping inside. Let's go, City Lord Yi, the gray-robed elder said. Yi Futian nodded and looked at Xia Qingyuan and the others. The princess then said, "Be careful." "Yeah." Yi Futian replied before moving alongside the massive group, disappearing inside the gate. The mighty ones of the 9 tribes went in next. After everyone else had entered, the 9 tribe leaders followed. Only members of the younger generation of the 9 tribes, as well as mighty ones from all forces all over Crimson Dragon Realm, were left outside the gate. They all stood guard over the vast territory, waiting for their compatriots' return. "Let's just train at the side," Xia Qingyuan said and everyone nodded. All of them went elsewhere and sat cross-legged, waiting for Yi Futian and the others to return. Yi Futian entered another space right after stepping inside the gate. When they entered, they sensed scorching while washing all over the place. It looked like it had been cooked throughout. Fire sprouted from the red-hot ground everywhere. The will of the great path of fire was all around them. "The world of fire," Yi Futian muttered. He looked up and saw that even the sky was scorched red. The fiery red sky seemed to have been shaped into peculiar patterns. 2 huge balls of fire were seen like there were 2 suns in the sky. However, they were concave and looked like black holes of fire. Their shapes made them look like a pair of eyes. Yi Futian's mind was rattled. He peered closely at the sky and saw more than just the eyes. He then saw a boundlessly huge face and the fiery red hair spread out throughout the sky, like glowing red clouds in the sky. A humanoid form. Yi Futian was not the only one who thought so. The other 8 mighty ones not affiliated with the 9 tribes all looked up at the sky. They all seemed to have seen something and looked rather astonished. "Let's go," a mighty one said. Hot winds blew, and it seemed that even the winds were imbued with the will of the great path of fire. The winds were scorching hot when they hit them. The place seemed like a holy ground for training in the ways of the flames. What did Emperor Qua leave behind here? The 9 tribes went out of their way to invite geniuses from all realms. Could it be that the 9 tribes who had once served Emperor Qua were unable to get it themselves? Is that why they wanted help from outsiders? "What would I need to do?" Yi Futian asked the mighty one from the Wu clan by his side. "Fire spirits are found in the ruins. Countless fire spirits of differing strengths are born in this place. All of those fire spirits have the essence of will of the great path of fire. What you need to do is to take them and make them your own," the mighty one answered. "Is that all?" Yi Futian asked. "Indeed. To possess the boundless will of the great path and transform yourself, you'd need to keep extracting and refining them. The process isn't complete until you're able to bring out extreme might using the way of flames," the Mighty One elaborated. Yi Futian nodded. The other Mighty Ones moved forward. Yi Futian wondered if he would have been able to ignore the obstacles posed by plane limitations and bring out combat prowess exceeding his level simply by using the way of the flames. It was no surprise why the 9 tribes placed so much importance on the fire manipulation abilities of the Mighty Ones. It possibly had something to do with the ruins. The way of the flames was of utmost importance there. As such, those who were incapable of internalizing the will of the Great Path would not have been allowed to enter. The Mighty Ones of the 9 tribes moved forward and split up, heading in different directions. Dangers lurked everywhere in that ancestral land. If the 9 outsiders were to simply wander on their own, there was no doubt that they would end up dead. Therefore, each tribe was in charge of the safety of one person. But of course, the 9 tribes naturally had their reasons for doing so. They would not have been so meticulous with their selection process otherwise. All of them placed high hopes on their chosen ones. The Wu clan chose to work with Yi Futian, so they followed right behind him. The Zhu clan was there as well. They were tasked with the protection of Yin Tianjiao. A fiery desert area was right before them, looking endless. Yi Futian finally saw fire spirits emerging. One fire dragon after another was seen spread out in different places. All of them were burning with golden flames. They had a humanoid, yet fiery build. They all pounced when they saw the group. Despite being spirits, they had not actually been awakened and only acted on instinct, making them see the humans as prey. "Let's go," Mighty Ones from both clans said to Yi Futian and Yin Tianjiao respectively. Both of them flashed and headed out in different directions. The Mighty One from the Wu clan paid close attention to Yi Futian. The Zhu clan wished for Yi Futian to be of aid to Yin Tianjiao. It was a good chance to see what both of them were capable of. Boom! Yin Tianjiao charged and her entire body burst with extremely dazzling golden flames. Holy light burst out of her body, making her look like a furnace of the Great Path. She stepped out at blitzing speed as she headed for a fire spirit. While the fire spirits were not intelligent beings, they nonetheless possessed saint-level auras, as if they were flames of the way born of the world itself. However, Yin Tianjiao was not hesitant. She charged right before a fire spirit and lashed out. That construct of flames charged at her roaring but was quickly pinned down. A terrifying whirlpool seemed to have appeared on Yin Tianjiao, devouring the fire spirit's body and making it one with her own. She was able to absorb fire spirits of such levels into her body without pause. The Mighty One from the Zhu clan watched the scene quietly. Yin Tianjiao, princess of Emperor Wu, had indeed inherited the true essence of her father. She was able to incorporate fires of the Great Path directly into her, wielding such powers in a variety of means, making her extremely powerful. Yi Futian charged at a fire spirit as well. Raging flames were sensed all over the place. Boom! A fire spirit charged right at Yi Futian, intending to eat him up alive. However, the will of the Great Path coursed about his body and holy light flowed. The flames were quickly internalized. The fire spirit roared and wanted to destroy him outright, yet its body kept shrinking. It continued until every single bit of its way of flames was taken into Yi Futian's body, being siphoned straight to his life palace. The Mighty Ones from both the Zhu Wu clans nodded when they saw the scene. While the city lord of Qinya City might not have been well versed in fire powers, but that was not to say that he was weak. Such beginner levels of fire spirits were of no threat to him at all. Both Yin Tianjiao and Yi Futian continued moving forward, destroying any fire spirit that emerged from the desert and consuming their powers. Time passed, and as they crossed the desert area, hundreds of wills of the Great Path of the Flames were already found in Yi Futian's life palace. They came to a lava-filled area when they crossed the desert. The lava burst everywhere, and there were even more fire spirits to be found there. However, the will of the Great Path of Flames was different from what was seen before. But things ended up almost the same nonetheless. Both of them charged into the fires of the lava and continued to internalize the fire spirits within. The Mighty Ones followed closely behind. The Mighty One from the Zhu clan was relieved to find that Yi Futian had not gotten in the way in the slightest, as he consumed the flames without a problem. It seemed that Yi Futian had a way of taking down flames after all. At that moment, the lava boiled and gushing sounds were heard. Yi Futian looked forward and saw the lava boil, from which a war god of lava appeared. That thing was no longer a simple fire spirit, as it had condensed itself into a solid body and materialized into a giant of lava, emanating a terrifying aura. Saint of true self-level, Yi Futian muttered to himself. The giant of lava took a look at Yin Tianjiao and Yi Futian, lashing out with both its hands. Anything hit by the great, big hands of lava would have probably melted on the spot. Both of them evaded at breakneck speeds. Yin Tianjiao looked at Yi Futian and said, "Work with me." It was apparent that she was getting ready to take on the giant, even though it was of Saint of true self-level. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The lava giant took a huge step forward and clapped its hands in Yin Tianjiao direction. Yin Tianjiao was unfazed and charged at the hand. Her body dazzled with glittering light, power bursting from her body. She threw forward her hand. Though slender, it still contained the might of the great path. Rumbling noises were heard and the world around her resonated with her being. She thrust and an enormous, fiery handprint appeared. The lava giant took a huge step forward and clapped its hands in Yin Tianjiao direction. Yin Tianjiao was unfazed and charged at the hand. Her body dazzled with glittering light, power bursting from her body. She threw forward her hand. Though slender, it still contained the might of the great path. Rumbling noises were heard and the world around her resonated with her being. She thrust and an enormous, fiery handprint appeared. Boom! A loud rumble was heard and the lava giant's hand cracked, but quickly mended. The fires melted her great handprint. She frowned slightly at fire spirit's insane healing powers. Sword wills howled around Yi Futian. Swords of Cassiopeia zipped past and arrived right before the lava giant, which roared as the swords came near. They were engulfed in the fires right away and melted into nothingness. Level superiority was at play in this fight. Yin Tianjiao's aura became even stronger at that moment. A tall, imposing figure like an empress seemed to have appeared behind her. A towering aura swept all around her body as her might burst in a frenzy. The will of the great path circled about her. Thousands of wills of the great path coursed, and the area surrounding her seemed to have become a world of destruction. Many wills of the great path of flames all gushed into her body at that moment, and it felt as if her body was burning. The will of the great path around her was furiously absorbed into her body. Yi Futian took a look at her and conjured the halberd of time and space into his hand. Yi Futian burst into the air with a flash, disappearing right away and appearing right before the lava giant, bringing down the weapon like a bolt of lightning. The lava giant blocked with its hand, clashing with the halberd of time and space. Rumbling noises were heard as the hand crumbled, inch by inch. The fires exploded at the weapon and Yi Futian himself. Still, the giant absorbed the power of lava without pause to reconstruct its broken arm. Yin Tianjiao stepped out and attacked as well. Her great handprint resonated with the great path around her as she brought her attack down on the fire spirit. The lava giant attempted a block, which caused its arm to quickly crumble inch by inch. Both Yi Futian and Yin Tianjiao continued to press on their attacks until they pierced the lava giant's body. Yin Tianjiao's rules within her handprint cracked open the fire spirit. A sliver of lava-colored will of the great path intended to flee, but Yin Tianjiao grabbed and pinned it down. Towering fires burst, intending to consume Yin Tianjiao. As holy light dazzled, her body almost burned, devouring the fire bit by bit. "You could have the next one," Yin Tianjiao said to Yi Futian, who nodded without saying anything. The mighty one of the Zhu clan added, "Why not internalize the will of the great path inside you to a certain level of strength first?" "Doesn't matter," Yin Tianjiao replied plainly. Yi Futian took a look at the mighty one. Since entering the ruins, the Zhu mighty one spoke his mind without reservation. The ruins had boundless wills all around. The numbers were astronomical. To people who trained in fire-based powers, the ruins were like a holy land all its own. The reason why the 9 tribes supported their candidates was to allow them to internalize their will of the great path and increasing their strength. But what was their ultimate goal? Yi Futian and Yin Tianjiao continued moving forward without thought. The lava area was incredibly vast and looked endless as well. Both of them plundered as much as they were able to, having no idea how many fire spirits they had destroyed and stripped of their will. They weren't the only ones. Mighty ones from the other 7 tribes did the same in other areas too. A short time later, they entered a territory filled with demonic fire beasts. A city seemed to have appeared right before them, a city of fire. They stopped and stared at it. The city had many steps leading to the top, and the entire place looked like it was basking in fire. The phenomenon made it seem like a city of the sun. It is best to internalize the will of the great path of flames within your bodies. You might run into greater challenges ahead, a mighty one from the Zhu clan said. Yin Tianjiao and Yi Futian nodded, then found a spot to sit cross-legged. Yi Futian closed his eyes and dazzling light appeared around his body. Swishing sounds were heard in his life palace. At that moment, his life palace turned into a world of flames. Flames of the way circled about endlessly. Yi Futian knew that those powers were not his. They were simply things taken by force. Even if he were to be able to internalize and use them for battle, they could be destroyed. That would be the end of it. Essentially, he was only using external powers instead of relying on his own skills. It was something he would not have done in his usual training. Those flames could only be used as trump cards, akin to convenient devices. That was unless his plane could reach the required level. Then he could truly make those flames his own. If at Proving Saint level, he could really enhance his own powers. Of course, there would have been no way for him to finish internalizing those flames in such a short period of time. The greater the flame's intensity, the harder it would have been for him to make them his own. There seemed to be another silhouette of his in his life palace, who sat cross-legged and holy light burst from it. The deed of thorough comprehension flowed about in a frenzy within him. His body was now like a furnace, melting and internalizing the wills of the great path. The world tree swished about. Powers of all elements been turned into auras of flames, enveloping his body. Auras of the world around him flowed into his body, entering his life palace through his veins. The first of his flames were completed a while later. Flames of increasingly greater numbers melted to become one with him. Fiery auras of the boundless great path flowed into his life palace. Not far away from where Yi Futian was, Yin Tianjiao was also training with her eyes closed. They sat that way for a long time. When they completed their training, they opened their eyes. Together, they began ascending steps before them, moving towards the city of the sun. With every step they took, the heat of the staircase grew increasingly intense. Like they were walking on the flames of the great path. The sun hung high above with countless golden ravens circling around it. The birds dove towards them with great force, as if they viewed the group as intruders. Everyone feared they were on the verge of destruction. Yi Futian sensed the birds' auras and found many of them to be at Saint of True Self levels. Fiery auras of the great path flowed around the sun, coalescing into dazzling beams of light. The beams shot forth like divine fire. The golden rays were engulfed by them, and they exploded into flaming auras of the great path. What transpired had caught the attention of the mighty ones from both the Zhu and Wu clans. Yi Futian's fire ability did not seem weak at all. His own powers combined with what had been absorbed were like rays of the sun, capable of melting anything. It even seemed to contain will of the sword, which gave the beams devastating shredding power. He conjured the halberd of time and space, grabbing the will of the great path. He charged at the flock of golden ravens that blocked out the sky. Yin Tianjiao's attacks were just as powerful. Her entire body was bathed in the dazzling, holy light of flames. It was apparent that, like Yi Futian, she had also internalized the flames. She melded them with her own attacks and crushed everything before her. Humanoid spirits appeared amidst the great number of golden ravens. A silhouette dove straight for Yi Futian. Its eyes emanated an extremely terrifying demonic aura. Yi Futian sensed the aura as the fire of the sun rained down, intending to penetrate the creature's body. However, it suddenly became a sea of flames, engulfing the area Yi Futian was in. A terrifying head appeared, intending to devour him. The gray-robed mighty one of the Wu clan came behind him. "Be careful, that thing is out to take your spirit." The people of the 9 tribes would not have let anything happen to their candidates, not before they reached their destination. The journey was meant to strengthen their powers and familiarize them with the way of the flames of the 9 tribes' ancestral land. The mighty one lashed out with his hand, and dazzling, golden flames fired at the being coming at Yi Futian. It let loose a harrowing roar as it was turned into will of the great path. "Thank you, Senior," Yi Futian said before continuing on. The rest of the mighty ones arrived soon as well, moving up the steps towards the Sun Castle. Upright figures stood guard at the gates of the city. They cast their glances forward, and a frightening and immensely profound aura swept over the field, turning into terrifying storms that resonated with the sun in the sky. "It has been years since you last came. Is there one worthy of entering this time?" The 9 tribes had been trying for many years. They had toiled for ages, but had never succeeded. As such, they were forced to begin borrowing external powers. The intent was to unravel the secrets of their ancestral land through the hands of ingenious outsiders. Even so, not one in all those generations had succeeded. The guards wondered how these new chosen ones would fare. They hoped that the clans would not let them down again. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." High above the Sun Castle and the sun above the castle, golden ravens descended upon them like a flood. High above the Sun Castle and the sun above the castle, golden ravens descended upon them like a flood. Yi Futian and Yin Tianjiao were doing their best to hunt them down and take any manifested will of the Great Path. Duan Wuji, prince of Emperor Dong's palace, and the mighty ones of the Zhong tribe were there as well. Duan Wuji's body was surrounded by a terrifying firestorm, as if it was able to devour anything it touched. He extended his hand as he charged at the birds. A black fireball manifested in his hand, which turned into a terrifying maelstrom. The maelstrom devoured the birds one after another on the spot before having their will of the Great Path extracted and absorbed into his body. There was a mighty one from the Zhong tribe who went on to kill the golden ravens with Duan Wuji, who then gifted any will of the Great Path gathered to him, as the mighty one worked with him in the hunt. Dazzling holy light glittered far away. It was as if golden ravens had swooped down. It was the mighty ones of the Raven tribe, as well as the student of St. Joyo. The mighty ones of the Raven tribe had the blood of the golden ravens flowing in their veins. They were impressed at the scene before them deep down. Such was their ancestral land, where the will of the Great Path was abundant and turned into countless golden ravens. The student of St. Joyo was extremely powerful. Black lotuses surrounded him, and black fires sprouted from the flowers, burning down the birds and absorbing the manifested will of the Great Path into the flowers themselves. He quickly ended up killing quite a number of golden ravens. His life spirit blossomed, and a pure black lotus appeared. He stepped onto the flower, which subsequently enveloped his entire body. The taken will of the Great Path gushed within and was absorbed by the black lotus. After that, the student of St. Chiming, Shichan of the Shi clan, Chang Huai of the Chang clan, and many other mighty ones arrived. All of them charged into the battlefield with the 9 tribes without hesitation, hunting down countless golden ravens and making nourishment out of them. The mighty ones chosen by the 9 tribes were capable of internalizing all of the wills of the Great Path taken throughout their journeys, and making them their own, thus enabling them to easily kill the golden ravens at Saint of True Self level. The fire powers of everyone present were very powerful. Yi Futian understood why the 9 tribes picked only cultivators who were versed in fire powers. It was not surprising at all that none of them had any expectations for him. Cultivators who were lacking in firepower had no way of working on and internalizing the wills of the Great Path in that place to enhance their powers. That meant that they had no way to participate in the later battles. Yi Futian found, while he was doing battle, that the other mighty ones continuously took wills of the Great Path while they were doing battle, enhancing their own powers as quickly as they were able to. The deed of thorough comprehension was in full effect. Yi Futian's body was like a furnace of the great path, as well as that of the sun at the same time. His sun-life spirit was infused directly with his body, enabling him to devour the taken wills of the great path on the spot. He became able to easily make such wills at Saint of True Self level into something of his own. A huge golden raven dived at them. It had extremely sharp eyes, looking as if it had acquired intelligence. That golden raven seemed to have harbored will of the great path at unblemished saint level. Everything it touched was quickly burned down. That huge being charged right at Yi Futian. The gray-robed elder behind Yi Futian stepped out and pointed his finger at the air. Dazzling golden fire spread throughout their surroundings, before penetrating right through the golden raven's huge body. Fiery holes appeared on that huge body of the bird. Terrifying golden chains of the great path appeared from within the holes, penetrating through the bird's body and shackling it in place. "City Lord Yi," he called. Yi Futian appeared right away. His finger pointed right before him, and great fires shot out right away, devouring the golden raven's body, along with the will of the great path at unblemished saint level. The unblemished saint aura was extremely powerful. Yi Futian felt extremely hot all over when he absorbed the bird. It was as if he was about to be burned to a crisp. The fires of the furnace were unable to make it into the way of fires that he required. He had internalized too many saint of true self-level wills of the great path along the way. However, the will of the great path at unblemished saint level exceeded his capacity to easily internalize the flames, due to plain limitations. That bit of Renhuang will of the great path seemed to have fused within his body, making the light on his body shine even holier. He used that will of the great path of Renhuang with the fires of true self to work on the flames of the way of unblemished saint level. Time passed, and Yi Futian plundered countless wills of the great path of saint of true self level, as well as many unblemished saint ones. He then stopped fighting altogether, walking up to a spot. He trained with his eyes closed, internalizing the flames in silence. Among the others, there were some who were still fighting and some working on the flames. All of them were doing their best to enhance their fire powers to the greatest extent. Yi Futian continued doing battle at times and taking wills of the great path while he was working on the taken wills. The group plundered and trained in a frenzy at the Sun Castle, forgetting about the passage of time altogether. They had ended up training there for a month before they realized it. The flames on their bodies had long become something terrifying. While the wills of the great path absorbed exceeded their respective planes, they were nonetheless able to internalize the flames due to having worked continuously on them. Despite not being able to enhance their planes right away, the internalized flames were able to be used in combat nonetheless. Everyone on the battlefield became unervingly powerful by then. Duan Wuji, the prince of Emperor Dong's palace, stood there. Terrifying fiery whirlpools appeared around him. Boundless aquamarine-colored flames coursed about him. He extended his palm and absorbed it. Golden ravens around him were all absorbed into his body in a frenzy, which was then internalized by the flames within. The black lotuses of the student of St. Joyo seemed to have turned huge, and his flames burst in full force, burning everything down. Those golden ravens were all burned down. Every single one of them brought extremely formidable power of the flames to bear until none of the massive flock of golden ravens was left flying in the sky. The ray of the sun above the Sun Castle was cast onto everyone's bodies. The sun seemed to have a true golden raven letting out a shrilled cry. Terrifying light was cast down onto the 9 mighty ones as if they seemed to have been embedded with mystical connections. The battlefield was empty, making the participants realize that there was a limit to the bird's appearance after all. When they became powerful enough to absorb and internalize those golden ravens easily, the spirit of the bird disappeared altogether. Frightening aura was sensed sweeping out from the Sun Castle before them. All of them began to walk towards the construct. The mighty ones of the 9 tribes seemed to be walking up in the front like they were on a pilgrimage. One mighty one from each of the 9 tribes walked to the front and came before a being in front of the Sun Castle's gates. All 9 of the mighty ones stood before that being. The mighty ones bowed slightly and then extended their fingers, drawing paper cuts on them and let their blood drip. The blood was shot to the being on the castle, which then flowed on its body. The being then looked up at the sky, and the sun up there shone on it. The 9 glittered with extremely dazzling light. It was as if a blood-colored thread had connected them. The 9 mighty ones of the 9 tribes then returned to their respective chosen ones. The gray-robed mighty one came to Futian's side and said, "Do what you've seen me do. You'd be connected to the matrix afterward." Futian nodded and pricked his finger as well. Blood dripped from his finger, and a ray of light shone onto his body. The being on the castle connected to him, and a blood-colored thread was seen in the air. Futian seemed to have seen an illusion right there and then, as if he was linked together with that being at the castle, flourishing and perishing alongside it. All chosen ones of the 9 tribes did the same as well. The space seemed to have a huge matrix conjured, engulfing them within. The center of the matrix was that sun in the air, shining on everyone below. Only one among the 9 of you will be able to enter the ancestral land. It is time for you to battle amongst yourselves, the mighty ones from the 9 tribes said to the people at their side. All 9 of the tribes had chosen their own candidates, and the upcoming battle would determine who would earn the right to enter the ancestral land. The outcome of the battle would also determine which of the 9 tribes would be able to have their ancestral lands opened. Who would be the first to do battle? A mighty one of the Zhu clan said. He turned his eyes at Yin Tianjiao, hoping that they had not chosen the wrong candidate that time and that she would have enabled the Zhu clan to open up their ancestral land. Many turned their eyes to Yin Tianjiao and Duan Wuji. The scene made the mighty one of the Zhu clan lift his brows slightly. The mighty one from the Zhu clan took one look at the gray-robed mighty one at Futian's side as if he was signaling something. "Let's see you fight first, City Lord Yi," the gray-robed mighty one said to him telepathically. Futian noticed the eyes of that mighty one from the Zhu clan. He was hoping to avoid having Yin Tianjiao fight first, as it would attract too much attention. Futian nodded and stepped out without saying much. Another figure walked out from the other side right after he emerged. It was none other than Shi Chan, who was working with the Vermilion Bird tribe. She glared at Futian. Intense flames coursed about in her eyes. She was scorching hot all over her. She naturally noticed that Futian had a sun life spirit as well, which meant that he was capable of wielding flames. She lost to Xia Qingyuan back in the fight in Jianmu City, losing their flames of the way. She took that loss as an insult. At the moment, the match was essentially one that was fire fighting against fire. She was confident in not losing to Futian. No words were spoken. The sun hung high up in the air when Shi Chan emerged. 9 suns appeared at the same time above her. Terrifying rays of the sun were fired, containing fires of the great path of destruction. The flames burst all over Futian's body right away. But it was as if he was a furnace of the great path, devouring the scorching beams shot at him. Shi Chan took one step out. The ground rang, and more suns appeared in the sky, hanging high above and surrounded Futian. All of those suns fired frightening will of the great path of flames unendingly right at Futian. Fiery aura that was even more raging bloomed, and Futian's body had turned entirely into a furnace of the great path. The beams of fires shot were continuously consumed by the furnace, preventing them from burning his body. Shi Chan performed hand seals and multiple suns circling Futian to close in on him in an instant as if they were about to merge into a true sun. She then unleashed the wills of the great path of flames that she had imbued into the sun. Devastating fiery beams shot from that sun, making Futian, who was being engulfed in it, feel that doomsday was near, and he was about to be devoured by the sun. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The 9 powerful cultivators had all refined a great deal of will. This was an external force. With it, they could all exert destructive power far beyond their level. The 9 powerful cultivators had all refined a great deal of will. This was an external force. With it, they could all exert destructive power far beyond their level. The power of the sun flare that Xichan was putting forth was completely different from that which she had used during her battle with Xia Qingyuan. The part of the air that Yi Futian was in seemed to be within an actual sun. Beams of destructive flame will shot towards him. His body turned into a furnace tripod, and he was covered in flames. When the beams of flame will reached him, they were swallowed up by the furnace tripod, and so they did not even touch his body. The sun seemed about to explode. Destructive power filled the air, trying to bury Yi Futian within it. Ancient characters were floating around Yi Futian as he released the deed of thought comprehension. All of his will melded and turned into flames. His body was the furnace that swallowed up Xichan's sun flare, and she was swallowed up within it. The people outside the battlefield could barely see Yi Futian. All they could see was fire. The burning storm swept out, but the people surrounding him stood firm. No one there was weak. The terrible storm gradually dissipated. Xichan stared forward. The furnace tripod was still there, and Yi Futian's body was contained within it. A furious look came over her face. The will that she had sent against him had not only not hurt him, but it had also actually been refined by him. Everyone else looked at Yi Futian and felt a flicker of nervousness. The terrifying furnace tripod surrounded him and refined the power of heaven and earth and all the law power into power that he could use. This was an incredibly strong technique. No wonder he had been able to come here. It seemed that his cultivation techniques could be used with flames. The ability to refine things out of flames was also very powerful. A look of surprise came over the faces of the Wu clan cultivators. It seemed that the Zhu clan might have been underestimating him when they had chosen them. Even among the flames, he was still strong. Xichan transformed into the divine body of 9 suns, becoming like a sun goddess as she was bathed in divine fire. She shot towards Yi Futian. Her spells could not shake him, so she had to attack him directly. She gathered her power as she rushed towards him. He reached out, and countless sun fists cut through the air like huge fireballs. They slammed into Yi Futian, containing immense destructive and explosive power. Boom! The sun furnace on Yi Futian's body shook endlessly. A huge sword appeared before him, formed from Cassiopeia, and forged from the fire of the Great Path. It was a flame saint sword. Bang! There was a loud sound as Yi Futian rose into the air and lashed out with the sword. It cut through the sun fists. This sword of the Great Path was immeasurably brilliant. It cut down from the sky, slicing through the air towards Xichan. Xichan raised her arms. The 9 suns protected her as her hands rushed up to collide with the sword. The sword cut down wildly through the fist wills, piercing towards Xichan's arms. Terrible flames suddenly swept out, completely enveloping her and seeming to refine her. She gave a groan. She felt as if her body was being eroded away by the flames. Blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. She retreated, but Yi Futian did not let up. His sword continued forward, with flames spitting out of it. Xichan went pale. Her tender body fell to the ground, blood flowing continuously from her mouth. Yi Futian flashed down to the ground in front of her. Xichan looked at him and said, "I am defeated." But Yi Futian ignored her, and the flames of the Great Path flew overhead. Xichan looked at him coldly. But seeing the resolve in Yi Futian's eyes, she finally sighed and gave up the flames of the way, letting Yi Futian take control of them. Soon, the divine fire around Xichan dissipated, and all was calm once again. And Yi Futian was not planning on giving up. There was a furious look on Xichan's face. She glared at Yi Futian, but Yi Futian ignored her. When he had obtained Renwang's flames of the way in Jianmu City, Xichan had not been polite to him and had directly attacked him. If she would not pay attention to the rules and only care about strength, then he would naturally not be polite to her either. Seeing the cold look that Yi Futian was giving her, Xichan's face grew as icy as frost. But she finally gave him the rest of her flames of the way. Yi Futian took them. Only then did Yi Futian let her go. After Xichan was defeated, the sunlight that had fallen upon her went dim. Even the cultivators on the castle walls connected to her were weakened. They would never be as powerful as before. It all looked incredibly magical. It seemed like when the whole matrix was only missing a single piece, it dimmed until there was no light left. and Yi Futian's light shone brighter. The figures on the castle walls that were connected to the Wu clan could breathe a little more. The 9 families of the Vermilion Bird clan had already withdrawn from this clan dispute. Shi-chan returned with an apologetic look on her face. The Vermilion Bird tribes did not say much. They just sighed inwardly. Even the descendant of the Shi clan from the ancient tree in Jinmu City was not strong enough. Yi Futian returned to his original position and sat cross-legged, continuing to refine the will that he had seized. However, refining this will would take time. Even though the flames of the way that he had refined for his use were quite strong, he couldn't mold other wills into them whenever he wanted. The cultivators of the Zhu clan looked at Yi Futian. He was stronger than they had even imagined. Later, they might be able to use him to deal with Duan Wuji and Saint Jiuyo's disciples. They were sharp enough to see that these people would be difficult to entangle. At that moment, Duan Wuji stepped forward and walked to the center of the crowd. Everyone shared a single thought. This prince was a son of Renhuang in the Crimson Dragon realm. He dominated the eastern part of the realm, and his flames of the way were extremely strong. People called them God-eating fire. As he stepped forward, his gaze fell upon a cultivator of Flaming Prison City, who was allied with the Bailey tribe. The cultivator frowned slightly. He did not want to oppose Duan Wuji, but it seemed to be too late to avoid it. His every step shook the very air. Burning will swept out and hellfire blazed. A powerful flaming god of war appeared behind the cultivator from Flaming Prison City, and his body merged with it. He grew larger, turning into a flaming war saint. Duan Wuji looked at the tall figure, but his expression was unchanged. The dark green flames around him blazed and flowed, seeming to form a devouring storm. It swallowed up all the flame in the area around them and integrated them into itself. Bang! The burning god of war stepped forward, and a terrible aura swept out. Duan Wuji stood firmly and rose into the air. He stretched out his hands, and suddenly, the dark green flames formed a terrible storm that grew larger and larger. In a flash, a dark green vortex appeared in the air above Duan Wuji's head. In addition, the aura that was swallowing up all the flames in the area grew larger. The terrible vortex shot towards the god of war and covered him. The cultivator from Flaming Prison City lashed out with a fist, and suddenly, it seemed as if lava and flames were shooting out from him. Firelight shone all around, threatening to melt the vortex before him. But the vortex swallowed up the lava as well. Endless green light shone from it, falling upon the fiery god of war's body and slowly eating up the flames upon him. It was turning him dark green as well, making it look like demonic fire. The cultivator from Flaming Prison City felt that even his soul would be devoured and integrated into that terrible fire. His face grew dark. Did he have no power to resist? His opponent's flames of the way were crushing his own. The flames raged wildly, and the fiery god of war's body began to shrivel. Soon, his figure exploded, the flames of the way were all devoured, and the terrifying vortex returned the air above Duan Wuji, after which it wrapped around him and poured into him little by little. "Give up," said Duan Wuji. Then he stepped back just like Yi Futian had. This battle was a contest of flames. It would show who could refine and use flames for their attacks the best. When facing the cultivator from Flaming Prison City, Duan Wuji had shown complete mastery. A disciple of Saint Jiuyo stepped forward and challenged a cultivator from Crimson Cloud City, which was allied with the Shang tribe. There was another battle, and the cultivator from Crimson Cloud City, though he was a descendant of Renhuang, was defeated by Saint Jiuyo's disciple. This disciple of Saint Jiuyo was skilled with Black Lotus Karma Fire and had immense destructive power. He could burn away someone's very soul. All of the fire of the way that he seized, he refined into Black Lotus Karma Fire, giving it incredible destructive power that he used to defeat his opponent. After 3 battles, there were only 3 people who had not fought yet. Yin Tianjiao took the initiative to step forward and challenge a disciple of Saint Chiming. Both of them were extremely strong and clashed many times. But in the end, Yin Tianjiao was able to withstand one more attack, and he defeated the disciple of Saint Chiming. Sunlight flooded the walls of Sun Castle. The cultivators of 4 great tribes shone with dark fire. The opportunity to reclaim their ancestral lands had once again passed them by. Of the 9 great cultivators, 8 had fought. Only Chang Huai had not yet fought. He frowned and glanced at the 4 cultivators. Duan Wuji Yin Tianjiao, the disciple of Saint Jiuyou, and Yi Futian. There was no clear choice. He was not assured of victory against any of them. In fact, he was likely to be defeated. But he could not avoid going out to fight. His gaze fell upon Yi Futian, who was sitting cross-legged and was busy refining his flames of the way. "There was a misunderstanding at Jianmu City," said Chang Huai. "I never would have thought that you were so skilled with flames, Lord Yi. I ask that you show me what you can do." Yi Futian, who had just been cultivating, opened his eyes and glanced at Chang Huai. A loud sound rang out, and his body transformed into an enormous furnace. It rang out as he stood, and his body disappeared. The furnace blazed as brightly as the sun, and he appeared right in front of Chang Huai. He raised his fist to strike, and a powerful wave of qi swept out, slamming violently into Chang Huai's body. A look of shock came over Chang Huai's face as a burst of powerful spatial will locked his body in place, making it feel as though it was impossible to move. Even though his flame spells were powerful, he could not avoid being affected by other powers. Chang Huai could only hastily raise his hand to attack. Raging flames burned the sky. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Yi Futian had completely transformed into a sun furnace. He shot forward, with fist will filling the sky, pushing the flames of the way before him. He was powerful enough to cut through anything like a blade through bamboo. Yi Futian had completely transformed into a sun furnace. He shot forward, with fist will filling the sky, pushing the flames of the way before him. He was powerful enough to cut through anything like a blade through bamboo. There was a loud sound as Chang Huai was sent flying backward. He felt like a hole had been pierced through him. A burst of flame entered into him, causing him to twist and distort his face in pain. Yi Futian walked forward step by step, looking indifferent and emotionless. Although he had refined some flames, and his attacks with the flames of the way were extremely strong, his defenses had not changed at all. Yi Futian's burst of power had made it so that he had had no way to respond, and so he had been badly wounded. The battle ended in an instant. Yi Futian walked in front of Chang Huai and swept his cold gaze over him. He reached out, and flames of the way came out from his hand. Chang Huai went pale as he watched the figure before him. He had once ridiculed Yi Futian's reliance on women back in Jianmu City. But now, he had been so thoroughly crushed. Even though it was true that Yi Futian had attacked him without warning, even if he had been ready for him, it would have made no difference. His will had been seized, and his Renhuang will had been taken, just like with Shichan. Yi Futian had crushed the 2 geniuses of the ancient tree. Yi Futian returned to his original position and sat down. Everyone looked at him. This contest between them had not been anything special, and so they had not gotten a look at the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. But they could at least see that the Lord of Qinya City was not like they had imagined. Otherwise, it would not have only been 2 great tribes that would have went to invite him. After Chang Huai was defeated, there were only the representatives of 4 tribes left. Yin Tianjiao of the Zhu tribe, Duan Wuji standing in for the Zhong tribe, the disciple of Saint Jiuyou for the Raven tribe, and Yi Futian. These 4 were all very skilled at refining flames. Even now, they had their eyes closed and were cultivating, seizing every moment they could to refine the flames of the way that they had taken. In this place of ruins, the flames of the way were power. The one who could refine the most of them would be the strongest. At that moment, sunlight was falling upon Sun Castle. Only 4 beams of light were still shining. The light where Yi Futian was the brightest. He had defeated 2 great cultivators all by himself, and so he had seized a few more flames of the way. The light seemed to form a mystical matrix. However, this did not increase Yi Futian's power. He could feel the sunlight falling upon him. Seeing that all 4 of them were calmly and silently cultivating, the cultivators of the Zhu tribe cast their gaze over the battlefield. At that moment, there was only the 4 of them. They and the Wu tribe were together in this, which the Zhong tribe and the Raven tribe must have known. Thus, those two forces would probably not fight each other, which would let the Zhu tribe and the Wu tribe win the battle without lifting a finger. So, this would be a 2-on-2 battle. He looked towards Duan Wuji, who was fighting for the Zhong tribe. He was probably more threatening than the disciple of Saint Jiuyo. Thinking of this, the cultivator from the Zhu tribe summoned a cultivator from the Wu tribe and said, "Have Lord Yi challenge Duan Wuji." They would fight for a bit, which would let them see how strong Duan Wuji was. What they had seen in the previous battle was just a performance. Duan Wuji had needed to use too much of his power to defeat his opponent. Yi Futian's performance had been outstanding, so he would probably be able to test Duan Wuji a bit more and see just how powerful the flames of the way that he had refined were, and how strong his god-eating fire was. That way, they would be able to find out as well. The cultivator from the Wu tribe looked out towards Yi Futian. The gray-robed figure walked over to him and said, "Lord Yi, why don't you fight Duan Wuji of the Zhong tribe in this battle?" Yi Futian opened his eyes and glanced at Duan Wuji. He was indeed quite strong. In his last battle, he had nearly crushed his opponent. He had not wasted any energy. His god-eating fire had swallowed up his opponent's flames of the way, and he had integrated the will that he had seized into his own god-eating fire. He was incredibly threatening. But if he wanted to make it to the end, this was an opponent that he would have to face sooner or later. He couldn't avoid it. It was just a matter of when. Therefore, he did not refuse. He stood up and walked out onto the battlefield. He looked out towards the cultivator from the Zhong tribe and Duan Wuji. Seeming to feel Yi Futian's gaze, Duan Wuji opened his eyes as well and looked back at him. There seemed to be dark green flames within his eyes, like demonic fire. He stood up as well and walked out onto the battlefield. It was still extremely hot in front of Sun Castle. Everything was extraordinarily calm at that moment. The two of them stood facing each other. Yi Futian turned into a great furnace once again, and the fire of the great path surrounded him, bathing his body. Dark green flames flowed around Duan Wuji, wrapping around his body. They slowly formed a vortex that grew stronger and stronger. It floated forward, swallowing up all the flames and slowly turning into a massive vortex of flames. The wild vortex shot towards Yi Futian, sucking up all the flame power in the area. Yi Futian used his deed of thought comprehension, and all his will turned into flames that burned like the sun. "Leave." He pointed to the air, and the flames around suddenly shot upwards, covering the sky. The word "leave" appeared among the flames. The vortex collided with the sun furnace, causing an incredibly destructive storm to sweep out. The dark green storm tried to swallow up the sun furnace, and the sun furnace was trying to transform the vortex. The two forces intermingled, and terrifying flames of the path wrapped around each other. Duan Wuji and Yi Futian were floating in the air, using their minds to control the flames, and guiding them with their hands. As they watched this ferocious battle, many people thought that if Yi Futian and Duan Wuji's wills were to collide with each other, both of them would be consumed. In that case, Yin Tianjiao and Saint Jiuyo's disciple would probably be able to reap the benefits without having lifted a finger. Many people were a little surprised that Yi Futian's fire of the Great Path could withstand Duan Wuji. As a prince, Duan Wuji had cultivated himself to be very powerful. So, Yi Futian of Emperor Xia's realm's powerful techniques must be at the Renhuang level. The two of them floated among the fire of the Great Path, using their hands to control the flames. They were putting more and more will into it, and endless flames descended from the sky. Each flame was filled with terribly destructive energy. Duan Wuji looked at Yi Futian under the raging flames. Dark green fire wrapped around him, growing stronger and stronger. He had not put all of his power into the vortex yet. He was still saving some. However, lines of flame will appeared around Yi Futian as well. The flames were clear and pure, seeming real one instant then illusory the next. There was something unreal about them. "Go!" Duan Wuji swept out his sleeve, and endless flames of the way swept out. But Yi Futian pointed forward, and 3,000 flames of the way shrieked forward, slamming into his opponent's flames. The two powers shook the sky as they collided. Duan Wuji stepped forward with a mighty stride and descended right in front of Yi Futian. He reached out, and suddenly, a vortex of flames appeared around Yi Futian, trying to swallow him up. Yi Futian's eyes were frightening. He swept his gaze over Duan Wuji, and pure white flames appeared around him, seeming to have grown out of thin air. They covered Duan Wuji's body. The two of them were nearing each other quickly. Duan Wuji raised his fist and slammed it towards Yi Futian. Immense power appeared around his delicate hand. Yi Futian stretched out a single finger, but it was sharper than a sword. It pierced towards the onrushing fist. The two attacks collided, and a terrible vortex descended upon Yi Futian from Duan Wuji's fist. He seemed unable to control his body, and his aura was sucked out by his opponent's fist. It seemed that his very soul was under attack and would be sucked out. But Yi Futian's finger contained immense space-tearing power. It was like a halberd. In a flash, endless destructive will entered his opponent's hand and slammed into his body. Duan Wuji's blood surged through his body. He had an uncomprehending look on his face. Terrible flames suddenly appeared on his hand, and it turned dark green as he continued to press it towards Yi Futian. His fist seemed able to engulf Yi Futian along with his very soul. Yi Futian continued to press his finger forward, and flames of the great path shot out of the other fingers. As soon as his finger landed on his opponent's hand, a void was drilled all the way through his hand up into his arm. Both of their attacks threatened their opponent, so after that single touch, they broke apart. Yi Futian's sleeve was torn, and dark green light had appeared on his hand. Duan Wuji was the same. His sleeve had been burned away to nothing, and undying flames of the way were raging across his body, sapping his vitality. Duan Wuji tried to retreat, but he felt an intense space-binding power. Yi Futian continued to press his fingers forward, trying to touch Duan Wuji again. Duan Wuji frowned, and coldness flashed in his eyes. Someone was really actively trying to attack him. He slammed out with his fist once again with no hesitation. In a flash, the two of them collided again like two phantoms. Bang! There was the loud sound of a collision, and the two of them separated yet again. Both of them groaned. This attack had obviously been difficult to bear. They had both been struck by their opponent's attack at the same time as they struck their opponent. The threat from the flames of the way was more than they could handle at their level, and its destructive power when it entered their bodies was apparent. Yi Futian's arms and torso were starting to turn faintly green, which looked very strange. Everyone's eyes fell upon him. Could he withstand this any more? But Yi Futian sat down and crossed his legs as the dark green fire raged across him, swallowing up his vitality, his spirit, and even trying to devour his very breath. His blood roared and roiled as his divine will descended, stamping out the flames. He looked a little better now. When it came to flame power, Duan Wuji was not inferior to him at all and was even a little bit better. Thus, he did not have the advantage when they collided. But at that moment, Duan Wuji was also sitting cross-legged in the air. Renhuang light seemed to flash around him, snuffing out all other power. White void flames raged within him. They were undying, having an unlimited lifespan. The flames burned until they reached outside his body. His face was ashen. Finally, he groaned and spat out a mouthful of blood. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The cultivators from the 9 great tribes were all shocked when they saw what was happening. The cultivators from the 9 great tribes were all shocked when they saw what was happening. Prince Duan Wuji had been the first one to be seriously wounded. From his current stance, it was clear that this wound was affecting him greatly, and he was still fighting to control the flames of the way within him. On the other side of the battlefield, Yi Futian swept his gaze around. The divine sun furnace swallowed up everything and gradually devoured the dark green vortex. Duan Wuji had no time to deal with him, and so the conflict up in the air had come to an end. Duan Wuji has lost. Everyone's hearts trembled. This was an unexpected outcome. If this had just been a regular duel, then even though Lord Yi of Qinya City did not have a brilliant record, he would still have been strong because of Yu Sheng, and he could have been more than a match for Prince Duan Wuji. However, this was a contest of flames. The god-eating flames were famous, and so everyone had thought that Duan Wuji would win here in the ancestral lands. But things had not gone as expected. Yi Futian of Qianya City had defeated Duan Wui in a contest of flames. Even the Zhu tribe and the Wu tribe, who had chosen Yi Futian, had not thought this to be possible. They looked incredibly surprised at that moment. If they had known that he could control flames so well, then everyone would have sent him invitations the moment he had set foot in Emperor Qua's city. Instead, no one had come looking for him, and so the Wu tribe had been able to convince him to go with them for practically no cost. However, many people looked surprised when they thought of the relationship between the Wu tribe and the Zhu tribe. Yin Tianjiao of the Zhu tribe was still there, and Yi Futian, whom the Wu tribe had invited, was still so powerful. It seemed that there was no more suspense about the outcome of this struggle at the ancestral lands. Saint Jiuyo's disciple was strong, but it would be almost impossible for a single cultivator to resist two powerful cultivators like Yin Tianjiao and Yi Futian. Indeed, he would have a great deal of trouble trying to take on just one of them. After all, Yi Futian had already proven his strength in this battle. Thus, if the Wu tribe was willing to concede to the Zhu tribe, then there was no more suspense in this battle. The Zhu tribe would be the victors and would have the opportunity to put the ancestral lands to use. 8 great tribes had been eliminated from this competition already. The only question was, would the Wu tribe and Yi Futian concede? If they didn't, who was stronger? Yi Futian or Yin Tianjiao? Lord Ye's strength is supernatural. I never would have thought that Prince Duan Wuji would lose to him. It seems that Saint Jiuyo's disciple would similarly have a hard time against him, said the burly, middle-aged man from the Zhu tribe with the long, red beard. Saint Jiuyo's disciple looked at Yi Futian. Yi Futian raised his eyebrows slightly. This cultivator from the Zhu tribe was a bit impolite. Or could it be that he was trying to incite a fight between him and Saint Jiuyo's disciple? Among the people present, he was the one who had fought the most. Although he had beaten Duan Wuji in the fight he had just had, he had used up a lot of his power to do so, and much of the will he had refined had been destroyed. Moreover, Duan Wuji's attacks had injured him. With such fearsome flames entering his body, how could he not have been affected? Saint Jiuyo's disciple was not weak, and his Black Lotus Karma fire contained terrible destructive power. If he fought again after having just fought, then even if he defeated Saint Jiuyo's disciple, he would not be at full power. And at that point, the only 2 cultivators left would be him and Yin Tianjiao. He knew exactly what the cultivator from the Zhu tribe was trying to do. His statement seemed to incite Saint Jiuyo's disciple's will to fight. He stared at Yi Futian, and the Black Lotus Karma fire wrapped around him. He was ready to fight. But at the moment, a figure flashed over and descended upon the battlefield, appearing in front of Saint Jiuyo's disciple. The dazzling figure was none other than Yin Tianjiao. She had not waited for Saint Jiuyo's disciple and Yi Futian to fight but had actively come to participate. Terrible flames wrapped around her, bathing her in divine fire. Her violent aura swept out, shooting towards Saint Jiuyo's disciple. The cultivator from the Zhu tribe was shocked as he beheld this scene. He was surprised that she would act like this. But then he understood. These people were all proud sons and daughters of heaven. Thus, this Yin Tianjiao was an incredibly proud person and had seen what he was trying to do. So she had acted, disdaining such means as he was employing. The cultivator from the Zhu tribe smiled coldly. Yin Tianjiao was indeed proud. But the ancestral lands were extremely important to the 9 great tribes. Now that they were within easy reach, how could he easily let them go? He would obviously use any tricks at his disposal. Also, wasting your opponent's energy was not really a petty trick. Yi Futian eyed Yin Tianjiao. What a proud woman. Duan Wuji was still sitting there. He opened his eyes and looked at Yi Futian, saying, "What kind of flames of the way do you have?" The pure white fire had been almost clear and seemed like void flames. This kind of flame seemed as if it could not be extinguished. Even if he tried to use Ruhuang will to control them, he would still be burned by them. These are flames that I learned about long ago through my cultivation. But at that time, they were just a prototype, so I never used them. Now, when we were refining our flames here in the ruins, I tried to use them again. Now that I've managed to employ them, I call them the fire of white lapis lazuli, answered Yi Futian. These flames have an endless will, said Duan Wuji. Yi Futian nodded slightly. Endless will was indeed contained within those flames, and it would be difficult to extinguish for even the most powerful cultivator. Duan Wuji smiled and said, I never thought I would lose to you in a contest of flames. He was extremely confident in his god-eating fire since it was so powerful. You are very good at controlling flames, said Yi Futian. He then turned and returned to his position. He had not been exaggerating. He had spoken truly. That god-eating fire had burned within him. It was indeed quite ferocious. Duan Wuji looked at Yi Futian, then turned and left as well. The glory of the Zhong tribe had dimmed a little bit. Only Yi Futian and the Wu tribe cultivators' glory was still shining brightly. On the battlefield, the two cultivators were locked in furious combat. Although Yin Tianjiao had cultivated many powerful flames of the Wei, she seemed to have integrated all of them into her attack spells. She was bursting with power as she launched her attacks. Saint Juyo's disciple's Black Lotus Karma fire was incredibly strong, but it seemed almost insignificant when facing Yin Tianjiao. In the end, Yin Tianjiao defeated Saint Juyo's disciple and made it to the end of the contest. The glory of the Raven tribe dimmed while the Zhu tribe's glory brightened. The light of the sun fell upon the two remaining tribes, the Zhu tribe and the Wu tribe. It also shone high up into the clouds. What was hard for people to accept was that the two remaining cultivators were from the Zhu and Wu tribes. These two tribes were very close and were practically allied. Now they had both made it to the end. Did that not seem a little strange? Would they really fight each other now? Yi Futian was still busy refining his will. He sat with eyes shut, cultivating. He seemed to have not seen the conclusion of Yin Tianjiao's battle. The Zhu tribe cultivator's gaze fell upon Yi Futian. Lord Yi, he said, I will have a great gift of thanks for you when we return. Why don't we let this battle end here, all right? He hoped that Yi Futian would give up. Yin Tianjiao was very strong, but if they could win this without a fight, everything would be settled. The fact that Yi Futian was still there made him an unknown factor. If he had been able to defeat Prince Duan Wuji, who could say that he would certainly lose to the princess of Emperor Wu, who had cultivated in the Crimson Dragon realm. End it here? Yi Futian looked at the cultivator of the Zhu tribe. The elder of the Wu tribe placed his trust in me and asked me to fight this battle. I've already come this far, how can I give up? I must give it my all. The Zhu tribe cultivator frowned. He was a bit upset with this reply. The Wu tribe cultivator looked at him, then to Yi Futian and said, both of them are powerful figures, and so it would be good to watch a battle between the two of them. Why don't we just let them fight? The Zhu tribe cultivator frowned. This man from the Wu tribe seemed to have his own ideas. Was it because Yi Futian's strength had given him confidence, and thus thoughts of total victory had been born in his mind? What are you thinking, Wu Yong? Asked the Zhu tribe cultivator coldly. The other cultivators of the Zhu tribe also swept their gazes over the people from the Wu tribe. Coldness flashed in their eyes. Were they trying to stand up for themselves? Boom! At that moment, a wild flame aura swept out. Yi Futian ignored the Zhu tribe cultivator. He directly unleashed his power as he sped towards Yin Tianjiao. He was prepared to fight. As for the Zhu tribe cultivator's exhortations, how could he obey them? Why had he even come here? Would he give up when he was only a step away? Please enlighten me. Wild flames rolled towards Yin Tianjiao as the great path furnace burned everything. Yin Tianjiao waited for it patiently, staring at Yi Futian. In a flash, a ringing sound came from her, and she blazed as brightly as the sun. Her radiance was frightening. Boom! Her wild aura shot up into the clouds. She seemed like a goddess of war. Divine light shot up into the sky as she gazed at Yi Futian's onrushing figure. Great path-binding power descended. It was spatial will that sought to freeze her in place. But Yin Tianjiao stepped forward with no thought of retreat. She seemed about to trample upon Yi Futian's body. A giant palm print materialized before her and slammed out towards him. The battle had broken out in an instant. There was a dark look on the Zhu tribe cultivator's face. He watched Yi Futian with unkind eyes, but soon he was watching the whole battle. This battle was extremely important. The idea to have the Wu tribe invite Yi Futian on this trip to the ruins had originally been theirs. When the Wu tribe had seen Yi Futian's strength, they decided to gamble with him. He would watch and see. If Yi Futian was defeated at Yin Tianjiao's hands, how would the Wu clan cultivators deal with him? And even if he won, would the Wu clan cultivators be able to take all of the Zhu clan cultivators? Two figures collided wildly atop of Sun Castle. Two figures collided wildly atop of Sun Castle. Yi Futian was bathed in the sun's fire. He turned into a furnace tripod, and ancient characters surrounded him, refining all his power and integrating it into his body. He let loose a powerful attack. Yin Tianjiao was a princess of Emperor Wu's realm and was a Renhuang cultivator. It was apparent how powerful she was in combat. She had also inherited Emperor Wu's talent, and her attack spells were overpowering. She integrated the fire of the Great Path into her attacks. At that moment, the fire merged with the martial will exploding from her body. But it was different than it had been with Shichan. Shichan had transformed into the divine body of 9 suns, but that had just been like borrowing the might of the sun. But Yin Tianjiao had transformed into a goddess of war. Burning flames wrapped around her, and she borrowed the might of the entire world. Her every strike and her every movement was filled with destructive power. At that moment, Yin Tianjiao raised her fist and pressed it down towards Yi Futian. She was powerful and overwhelming. Her attack, the Nirvana handprint of unblemished flames, covered the sky and shook the very as it slammed towards Yi Futian. The wave of flames swept out, giving off a shrieking sound. Yi Futian activated the deed of thought comprehension and took the flames into his own body, as he had turned into a great furnace. He also raised his fist and stepped forward with the footwork of Shenyuan. The air trembled along with the great path. He thrust forward with overlapping Huangting fist wills, and his attack slammed into the palm print that covered the sky. A rumbling noise rang out, and the handprint trembled as cracks appeared in it. It then collapsed. But Yin Tianjiao's attacks did not stop. She continued forward and struck out with both fists at the same time. Her long robe was bathed in flames. She looked majestic and powerful. She slammed out her fists like a martial goddess, and her flaming palm print flattened everything in its path. The two of them slammed together, and a destructive airflow swept out at their terrifying collision. There was a loud bang and they both retreated. Yi Futian's gaze was fixed on his opponent. He was a little surprised that a woman could attack so powerfully. No wonder she had been able to enter the regional palace to cultivate. He wondered if she had fought with Yu Xing there. Yin Tianjiao felt her heart quaking. She had not been able to beat Yi Futian, and he was even directly attacking her. This guy was just like that B** starred from the regional palace. He was simply a monster. Moreover, he seemed to have a similar power to her own in that he could integrate the power of flames into his attacks. Either way, this showdown between them was not getting anywhere. She looked at Yi Futian and her blood boiled. The blood of Renhuang flowed through her veins. The light from an even more powerful flame shot up into the sky. Divine fire seemed to wrap around her as dazzling flame light pulsated. It was like a divine golden fire was burning her body and making her aura even more powerful. An even wilder aura swept out from her. A look of surprise came over Yi Futian's face. Yin Tianjiao's aura was increasing and becoming stronger. It was as if the flames of the way within her were improving her combat ability. Golden flames shot out of her eyes and pierced towards Yi Futian's. In that instant, Yi Futian felt terrible divine flames burning in his mind that sought to extinguish his spiritual willpower. Yin Tianjiao stepped forward, and the divine flames that wrapped around her body transformed into a fiery war goddess with many arms. The goddess thrust out her fists towards Yi Futian, destroying the very air as they covered him in blows. There was a look of pain in Yi Futian's eyes. He looked up at the oncoming fists, and a terrible fiery airflow swept out from him. At that moment, horrifying divine fire shot out from his eyes. He looked at Yin Tianjiao, and she seemed to see an incomparably huge fiery god of war. The scene was somewhat familiar to her. Intense sunlight fell from the sky. It was as if the sun itself was on fire. The flames fell on Yi Futian's body, making the flames that were already around him become stronger and stronger. All the cultivators from the 9 great tribes were looking at him, and their hearts were trembling. They also seemed to feel a familiar aura. The Renhuang flames of the Wei, they all said as they watched him. Had this guy refined many Renhuang flames of the Wei and integrated them into his body for his own use? Yin Tianjiao's flames of the Wei could also be called Renhuang flames of the Wei. Her father, Emperor Wu, was Renhuang, and her talent had come from him. But even so, she had only been able to gradually display her power as her cultivation became stronger. No matter what, her flames of the Wei should have been stronger than the ones that Yi Futian had refined. After all, she had directly inherited them from her father, whereas Yi Futian had obtained them later. However, the aura that burst forth from Yi Futian now was not weaker than hers in the least. In addition, Renhuang Wu burned within it. It was as if he was using the power of these ruins. The intense light of the sun shone down on him. Boom! A wild burst of will swept out as Yi Futian's furnace swallowed up the flames around him. His body became tall and mighty. It was as if Emperor Kwa had come down into the world. He raised his fist and grabbed at the air. Huge palm prints slammed into the onrushing fists, shattering them completely. He stepped forward, and the very air trembled. The great path roared as fire shot out of his eyes, colliding with the golden fire that was coming from Yin Tianjiao's. The two colossal powers clashed. Yin Tianjiao's expression changed. She stepped towards Yi Futian. Beneath the flames, she was like a goddess, beautiful beyond compare. Yi Futian stepped forward at the same time and thrust his fist out. A furnace tripod of the heavenly great path appeared in his hand, formed from the flames of the Wei. The flames within him poured into it and then swept out towards Yin Tianjiao. Yin Tianjiao swept her divine golden flames downward and turned into a divine phoenix. She and many other sacred beasts of flame charged forward. But the divine furnace was growing larger and larger, and it swallowed them all up. The fiery divine beasts shrieked as they were shattered within it. They could not break out. Boom! The fiery divine beasts all melted within the furnace. Yin Tianjiao went pale. The terrifying furnace continued to swallow them all up, and endless divine flames shrieked forward, but they could not destroy it. It was as if the furnace was formed of Renhuang fire, and thus was able to consume all their flame will. The great path had formed this furnace, and it could refine all the flames of heaven and earth. Yi Futian stepped forward and slapped the furnace through the air towards Yin Tianjiao. It pressed towards her, and she raised both her hands to block it, but it swallowed up the flames that were upon her. She was sent flying back by its continuous pressure, and she spat up a mouthful of blood. Her face was ashen. Yi Futian continued forward with not a hint of regard for her safety. He once again pressed the furnace towards her, continuing his attack on her. She was slammed to the ground. She was finally no longer able to bear it. She lay sprawled on the ground with crimson blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. Yi Futian's figure flashed, and he descended before her. He began to walk towards her. Upon the walls of Sun Castle, the Zhu tribe cultivator's face was held hard as iron. Yin Tianjiao had actually been defeated at Yi Futian's hands. Of all the 9 tribes, it had actually been the Wu tribe's Yi Futian who had made it to the end and had defeated all opponents. Lord Yi, called the Zhu tribe cultivator. Yi Futian looked at him, then continued forward, ignoring him. All the cultivators of the 9 tribes were watching him. They were speechless. The Zhu tribe cultivator could not change this outcome. Yi Futian had no intention of conceding. He walked up to Yin Tianjiao and cut the flame will from her. Sunlight streamed down from high up in the sky. Upon the walls of Sun Castle, 9 beams of radiance seemed to merge into one. It fell upon Yi Futian. Golden light wrapped around him and covered the vast area. The will of the great path flowed down along with the sunlight, making Yi Futian's aura stronger and stronger. He seemed to resonate with the sun, and the two of them became one. Not only that, but of the cultivators standing guard on Sun Castle, only those of the Wu tribe's bloodline shone brightly as well. The cultivators from the other 8 tribes dimmed. It seemed as if their auras had been swallowed up by the sun and given to this one man. Wu Yong turned his gaze towards a figure standing guard upon the castle walls. The sun shone brightly upon him as he strode towards Yi Futian. Do not resist. He will help you open the gate to the ancestral lands, Wu Yong said to Yi Futian. The figure walked towards Yi Futian, then entered directly into his body, seeming to turn into a beam of fire. It seemed as if the cultivators upon the castle walls were not real, but were formed of pure will. Yi Futian's golden light grew brighter and brighter, and the refinement of flames of the way within him sped up. The light of brilliant flames covered Sun Castle. A beam of terrifying light shot forward towards the gate to the ancestral lands. The sun, Yi Futian's body, and the gate to the ancestral lands all shone brightly one after the other. Even under the light of the terrible golden fire, the gate did not budge. Even as it was heated until it became red hot, it still stood firm. Open it, then we can go to the ancestral lands, said Wu Yong from beside Yi Futian. He hoped that Yi Futian could complete this final step and open the gate that led to the ancestral lands. The cultivators of the 9 great tribes all watched Yi Futian. They did not know whether or not he could accomplish this final task and enter the ancestral lands. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.